You know what the people who want Cop City, you know why they say they want it, a training facility. But what do you think a facility like Cop City is preparing for? Do you think, let me back up. Do you think building Cop City is the ruling class, the powers that be, the capitalist class, the people that run the donors? Do you think it's them setting up a facility in preparation for something they feel is coming, or do you think this is just the run of the mill, repression that they're doing? So, could you speak to that? Your feeling on that,
Right.
please?
No, I think, and again, all my judgments are fallible, though, brother. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. I ain't a relatives about these things. That I think it's twofold. You already have in place a dominant strategy of the police, which is to protect and serve on the well-to-do vanilla side of town, and to repress and contain on the poor, working class, black and brown part of town. That's part of the general strategy across the board. And they treat it in very different ways. And the value of poor life, poor black life is very different than the value of a well-to-do white life. But the second thing is the wave of rebellions that can break out spontaneously. And they want to be in a much better position to be able to respond to that. I saw that in Ferguson when I was there. I saw it in Baltimore when I was there. They want so that it's both concerned about the next wave of rebellions, and there will be waves of rebellion because human beings are human beings. Chickens come home to roost. You can only treat people a certain kind of way for so long, and you're gonna reap what you sow. And that's the history of black folk from the very beginning, from Nat Turner all the way to the last wave of rebellions that we had. And I'm not talking about just demonstrations of George Floyd, Jr. I'm talking about rebellion. That's a very different kind of thing, you see. So I think that's a twofold concern. And it's part of the militarization at home, inseparable from the militarization abroad. You also get it in schools. So many of the black schools now have more police than they do counselors and nurses. Now, see, that's sick. That is as sick as it gets. Any people who have a deep concern about their children, yes, you want your children safe. Yes, you got too many bullets in these schools. There's no doubt about that. But if all the money's going into the police, you don't have money for counselors and nurses, what kind of message are you sending? What kind of sensibilities are being shaped when everywhere they look, they see militarization? Everywhere they look, you see. And so that's part of the question of black leadership. We won't have time to get into that. I mean, we can have a separate show on the decrepitude of black leadership among the black bourgeoisie these days. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Even E. Franklin Frazier's classic of the black bourgeoisie in 1957, he got one fascinating sentence in that book. He says, the one thing I can say about the black bourgeoisie is that they'll do anything for their children. Now, he's a black working class brother from Baltimore who spent time with the black bourgeoisie in Howard University. You all know the story of great E. Franklin Frazier, right? Now, if he were to rewrite today and he would say, well, let's look at how the black children are treated, even the black middle class children. Hey, are they given a high priority? No. The hedonism and narcissism of the black bourgeoisie is so overwhelming that even the children are left dangling. That's a Keith Sweat moment. Something just ain't right.
Yeah.
The spiritual hollowness. Where's the love? Where's the concern for the next generation? You're not going to have a black community if you don't have a future. One reason why Afrofuturism is so popular these days, because they're courageous intellectuals who know more and more it looks like we don't have a future. So we need to use our imaginations. We got to have freedom dreams in Robert Kelly, or what the Commodores would call Zoom. You all know that classic jam Zoom, which is the anthem of black brothers in prison. Zoom. I like to fly away. Yeah. Well, I like to fly away. Well, I like to fly away. Zoom, zoom, baby. Oh, that's Lion
That's
Lamb.
that's
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 Gerald.
so cool how you hear everything in musical lines. I do too. I hear a lot in rap lines. I'll
Oh
see
yeah.
just regular life, and a rap line will come to me that illustrates that. But to kind of bring it back and follow up on Pop City, have you been following some of the activism there? Like, what are your sort of suggestions, your thoughts? What would you say if they asked you, hey, what are some of the things we should do? How can we stop Cop City is basically what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Is there
Yeah.
anything in your life that you've seen, you've seen marches, you've seen these things up close? Like, how do we fight this? And would you, reflecting back on that sort of history, how do you fight this?
Yeah, that's very real. I was just speaking to my very dear brother, Jamu Baraka, who I'm working very closely with on the campaign. The press talks a lot about Sister Jill Stein, but we have a group that meets. Well, Jamu's always there. My blood brother Clifton is there. My wife Anahita is there. Chris Hedges is always there. We got a small little group that wrestles with this. And I told him I've got to get to ATL and A-Town physically to be a part of that grouping, to make a presence and try to bring some spotlight on it. You got to use whatever you got, whatever little fame and influence, authority, use whatever you got, put the focus on the suffering, right? And in doing that, maybe we can try to bring in a larger wave of voices, because I think, again, this is a major failure of Black leadership, that there hasn't been a coming together to focus on that. You saw just the transition of Rainbow Coalition to our dear brother Freddie Haynes, the third now. Jesse Jackson is now pulling back after 30, it was 1996, after 27 years of leadership of Rainbow Coalition. Now I was listening. I wanted to hear what they said about Prison Industrial Complex and passing car. I wanted to hear what they said about Cop City. I wanted to hear what they said about these issues where Black leadership can be brought to bear that might constitute some kind of impediment for the elected officials of the Black bourgeoisie who are willing to be so complicitous with the militarization of Black hoods, with the police leading this. Isn't it ironic, though? You see that when the FBI comes at us and shoots us down, and we call for the defunding of the FBI, we call un-American, anti-patriotic, and communist. When Trump gets arrested by the FBI, he called for the defunding of the FBI. What happens among the Trump folks? Shoot, they fall right in line. Hey, yeah, we're going to defund them. Come on, let's talk about it in Congress. I thought defunding the FBI was the most anti-patriotic. No, it depends on which side of town you're talking about. Oh, I see. We shouldn't be surprised, but it becomes more apparent. Now, you would think that our leadership would be able to pick up on that. Where's the collective voices on that? And we got to fight it. We don't know whether we win it, but we got to fight it. And we got to make the connections between Cop City here and wars abroad. Militarization across national boundaries. 150 countries, U.S. troops. Well, we got troops in 150 countries. China got 5. Russia got 30. We got 800. 800. Lord. Same is true with the militarization of even our minds. And keep in mind, military music is the near opposite of jazz. Because it's hierarchical.
Because
you got to hit the note. Everybody hit it the same way. Nobody got individuality. Ain't nobody flattening no notes. Ain't nobody under the note, on top of the note. Ain't nobody syncopating. Ain't nobody got polyrhythms that change every night based on the mood of musicians. Coltrane's playing the same song on Monday, different on Tuesday, because he's feeling differently. You can't do that with military music. It's on the sheet. That kind of hierarchical thing. The music expresses the deepest grounds of our sense of our humanity and our system resistance. And as political activists and intellectuals, we got to learn from the raw stuff that was created by our people. And because only 4% of us could read in 1865, most of our genius was manifested in music. We had to wait till we learned how to read to get a Toni Morrison that could do what Shakespeare did. That's all right. We ain't worried about Shakespeare. Thank God for Toni. But there were Toni Morrisons on the plantation. They just didn't have the right to read, so they did something else. They wrote some songs. They connected. They came up with forms of orality that was so kinetic that it made Tupac look like a Boy Scout. No, I'm going too far now. I'm going too far. You know I ain't got no evidence for no doing plantation.
That's sometimes that happens when you improvise. Sometimes that happens when you're improvising.
Yes, he did. He came from the preachers. He came from the spokes. He came from the griots. That genius came from somewhere. He didn't drop out of the sky. And y'all know I knew Tupac when he was 10 years old at House of Lord Pentecostal Church when he was a student there at Timbuktu, where we used to teach every Wednesday night. You could see the genius in his face sitting next to his magnificent mother, Phoenix, the member of the Black Panther Party and a member of the House of Lord Pentecostal Church, Reverend Herbert Daltrey, who was the head of the National Black United Front. So that's the tradition. How do we use the genius of our tradition that it goes through us? So when they looked at the three strong, brilliant, organic, intellectual brothers like y'all, they could see David Walker and Harriet Tubman and Mahalia Jackson and Aretha and Luther, as well as Du Bois, shot through your soul, even though you got your own voice. Now, see, once we unleash that, Lord have mercy, it's a new day. It's a new day. Lord, remember Sly Stone say, "Ooh, Stan, you've been sitting much too long. There's a permanent crease in your right and wrong. Stan, there's a midget standing tall, and the giant beside him about to fall. Stan, they will try to make you crawl because they know what you're saying makes sense at all. That's why you're getting censored. Stan, there's a cross for you to bear. Things that go through it, you can go anywhere." That's Sly Stone out of Vallejo, trained at the black church with his father's church. Insight, courage, unbelievable, bodily, visceral vitality, putting his body in the music, in his genius, in the sound, so that it can touch us and make us stronger, you see. That's a great people, y'all. Ooh, I'm telling you, I don't know if any other people had that kind of spiritual greatness. I know a lot of people got great things, but not like these black folk in USA. Something distinctive about it.